All right. Good evening, everybody. Sorry for another dark video. I feel tempted to talk about politics again, but it's a ideological and philosophical point that I want to bring up. And it's as follows. So a lot of people are asking, well, why do you believe that the election was rigged, was stolen, etc., etc.? And the answer, that of course has been said many times, is that President Trump won more votes than any other president in history. He got, I think, 11 or 12 million more votes, meaning what's recognized than he got in 2016, which makes sense. As I was saying all along, I don't know anybody who voted for Trump last time who won't be voting for him this time. But I know plenty of people who didn't vote for him last time who will be voting for him this time. So it was pretty obvious, and I was, even though I did vote for him in 2016, I did so very reluctantly, and I did so very enthusiastically this time, because he proved himself. And so then the claim is, all right, so President Trump got 74 million votes, and somehow Biden got 79 million votes, 80 million votes, something crazy like that, which is totally ridiculous. It's so absurd that there's not even what to talk about. And the only way that could possibly be true, because we know nobody really likes Joe Biden. There are a lot of people who really love President Trump. And I guess there's some people, I'm thinking about 20 million people who each voted 4 times, who really hate President Trump, right? And I mean, I cannot live in a world where the power of hate is stronger than the power of love. And that's the point I want to bring up. I refuse to accept that we're living in such a horrible, evil world. I know that the Tanya says, Olam Hasiya Rubai Ra, that this world is mostly evil. But I cannot accept that the power of hate is more powerful than the power of love. And so that's why I'm convinced that it had to be, that something so absurd had to be fraudulent, because there's the only way that it could be and it could be legitimate, is that the power of hate is stronger than the power of love. Now, I know what the leftists will say is that it's not a hatred for Donald Trump, but it's a love for all the people that Donald Trump supposedly hates. But that's ignorant, because Donald Trump is not a racist. Donald Trump is not, so, if anybody actually listens to Donald Trump instead of listening to the media's reporting about Donald Trump, you're going to get, obviously 2 different worlds. If you just watch the Republican convention, for example, you'll see that Donald Trump is not a racist. He's not a sexist. Certainly not a homophobe. I don't understand where people get that from. He's probably the most pro-gay president we've ever had. That's a problem that our community has with him, but we're willing to overlook it because with everything else he's good. And in general, his approach to that subject is a libertarian approach of, pretty much live and let live, and he really doesn't care. It's not on his radar so much, but his actual actions and his personal beliefs in the matter. He's the first president to enter the White House, not believing that marriage is between a man and a woman only. He's always been, indifferent to this issue of the redefinition of marriage, and he never fought about it. Now people say, well, he picked Mike Pence, who believes differently, but Mike Pence is a respectful individual who might have sincerely held religious beliefs, as our community does, but has respect for people that he disagrees with, which I think is appropriate. You know, when Mayor Pete started to attack Vice President Pence answered back. You know, he was the governor there, where Pete was the mayor, and he said, you know, we always worked so well together. Why are you throwing me under the bus? What did I ever do to you? And the truth is, it's just having that R next to your name makes it's a knee-jerk reflex, because, you know, nothing that the Trump administration ever did, you know, came close to reversing the redefinition of marriage or anything like that. And the fact of the matter is, his actual actions have been to protect people who identify with the homosexual communities from violence and from being killed in Muslim majority countries. And that's been his whole. I wasn't planning to talk about this particular issue, but it's an important point to make. The same thing with, you know, the African American communities, a very different type of community, obviously, where President Trump has gone out of his way to help the African American communities in meaningful ways that have actually helped, etc., etc. So there you have that people believe lies about the president. But the truth is, just about every lie that people have said. In fact, there was an article today on Vosses Nayas talking about the Lashon Hara against President Trump, and how wrong it is to say Lashon Hara about Donald Trump, and the hatred that people compared the author of this editorial said, you know, he compared it to the hatred that the Nazis had for Jews, this visceral hatred. And the truth is, it's not far off, because it's not just a hatred for President Trump himself, but for his supporters, which are 74 million people voted for him. Our lives are in danger by this upcoming possible, you know, claimed regime that's attempting to steal this country from us. It's, you know, I have a real fear that they're going to put us in concentration camps for loving this country and for not wanting to buy into the globalist agenda. And it's really scary. And there are people openly saying this, that they want to have re-education camps. I don't mean that they're going to have a genocide, but they probably are going to put us in concentration camps if we don't stop this. Especially if we don't stop them from taking the Senate. Which, you know, Georgia is very important, and we don't know, are they going to steal it again? And there's a lot of people who are afraid, but I would hedge my bets anyway. If I lived in Georgia, and anybody who does live in Georgia, I would say vote for the Republicans anyway. It's not going to hurt to vote for them. You know, it can only hurt to not vote for them. If they, you know, you still have at least, you know, a 50-50 chance if they're going to get away with stealing it, you know. So, with all that being said, so where are we holding with this? So, the point that I'm saying is, though, that, you know, people are saying that there's Lashon Hara spoken against President Trump. Lashon Hara, which means evil tongue, means slander, generally means something that's true. We have a different term for telling lies about someone. It's called Motzi Shem Ra, taking out an evil name. And that's really, I guess, really more libel. You know, I guess there's a difference between slander and libel. and slander is that which is true, and libel is that which is false. And the truth is that when it comes to President Trump, the things that they say about him are libelous rather than slanderous because they're not true. As opposed to with Biden, just about every negative thing that people claim about President Trump is true about Joseph Biden. He is a racist. He is a sexist. He's a misogynist. He is a sex offender. He, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You could go down the whole list. He's a liar. He's a thief. It's, everything. And so, again, so we're really supposed to believe that more Democrats voted for an old white racist than for Barack Obama or for Hillary Clinton, that, there you had something historical, first woman president, first black president. I mean, Kamala Harris didn't do that well in the primaries. Are we supposed to believe that people voted for Biden because of his running mate and the historical aspects of his running mate? I don't know. It's funny, I just went over the border to New York, and I passed by a bar, and it was open, and all the bars in Pennsylvania are closed to stop the spread of COVID, and I didn't stop to look how many Pennsylvania license plates were there at the New York bar, because tonight's a big drinking night, Erev Thanksgiving, because people don't have work tomorrow. And and here you have, I never thought that New York would be more free than Pennsylvania. But it's only one night of the year. The rest of the year, New York, Pennsylvania is more free than New York. At least there was a semblance that President Trump could win Pennscertain. We know President Trump won New York also. But the lies are so entrenched in New York, and certain areas of Manhattan, people get paid to vote 3 or 4 times, and that's been going on forever. That's nothing new. So there you have it. They called New York for Biden before anything was counted, even. So. Again, this argument that a vote for Biden is actually based in love and not in hate is untenable or at best ignorant, because Biden is a racist. Biden is everything that they say. I mean, they say, President Trump, he mishandled the coronavirus case. I mean, the H1N1 was much, much worse. President Trump put kids in cages. Well, actually, President Obama did that, and Bernie Sanders called him out for it. And President Trump put an end to an Obama-era law, that was putting kids in cages. President Trump made a Muslim ban. Well, actually, he just continued an executive action of the Obama administration, and the only thing that he added to it was he added some countries where no Muslim is welcome, where countries where Islam is illegal. He added those countries to the list, so it's not a Muslim ban. It's just an attempt to curb terrorism and to have an opportunity to vet people and see if these are people that we want to bring into our country or not. It's absolutely not a Muslim ban. And actually, President Trump, I think he got twice as much of the Muslim vote in 2020 as he did in 2016. And really, I've been saying for a long time that the Republican Party has to reach out to the Muslim community, because we're much more natural allies. It makes a lot more sense. We have much more in common. And the fact, like I said, at the DNC, the so-called Muslim delegation took out the words "under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance, that shows they're not Muslims. I mean, I asked imams about this, several imams. They said, no, if someone, they said, if someone's a Muslim, you're supposed to mention God all the time. Every other word's supposed to be inshallah, mashallah, bismillah. So to not mention God is, inshallah, God willing, mashallah, like kind of kanai nahara, God should protect us from the evil eye, type of thing. Bismillah, in the name of God. Everything is God for a Muslim, right? If you're really Muslim, and it's the same problem the Jewish community has, is that you have people who call themselves Jews but are not Jews, but are, as a certain author would say, maybe I can't mention what the Christian Bible says about the people who call themselves Jews but are not Jews. Not talking about Pharisees or the Sadducees. We're talking about real heretics, people who don't believe in God. Those are the ones who call themselves Jews but are not Jews. And we have a lot of those in the world today. And it's not the Orthodox world. It's a lot of these other people who call themselves Jews but are not Jews. So pretty much that is the situation that we find ourselves. But you have the same thing. You have people who call themselves Muslims, but they're not Muslim. They're not, being Muslim means that you submit yourself to God. But if someone is going to take the words under God from out of the Pledge of Allegiance and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be kufir for a Muslim. That would be heretical, because how can you pledge allegiance to something that is not under God? That would be heretical for any Muslim. Meaning, the point is, it's better not to say the Pledge of Allegiance. As a Muslim, I could see people saying it's problematic to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. But as long as you recognize that we're a nation under God, so then there's nothing haram about reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But to have a pledge that is not under God, then such a pledge would be haram to a Muslim. It's not only that it's a sheval tasa, as we would say in a Jewish parlance, that by omitting the words under God, that one is missing something, but it's not, it's a bitul aseh, but it's not a lav. I don't have to translate all these words. I hope we have some yeshiva light watching. But the point is it's not only that it's a bitul aseh and not a lav, but it's mamash a lav. It's sinful to pledge allegiance to anything that's not under God, right? So removing those words from the Pledge of Allegiance makes the pledge haram, I would say. I mean, lefi anias daiti. Again, maybe I have to ask my imam his das on this, but essentially that's what when I say my imam, the imam who works for me, that I supervise, because I'm the supervisor. If you remember the Chaim Mordechai Brecher video, the supervisor, he has the cape with the big V on it. So anyway, that's an old blast from the past of internet Jewish recordings, if anybody remembers that one, with the B-R-E-H-H-E-R. So anyway, I've gone well over. I plan to make a 2-minute video, and here we're almost to 20 minutes. I'd like to make another video just about Thanksgiving. That's going to be a little bit more Torah-dig. But that's my point here, is that it's not nutty it's not a weird conspiracy theory. Oh, Area 51, crazy thing to believe that the election was stolen, because it's just so obvious. It's just some plain obvious, gaslighting, that they're making us think that we're crazy. And the truth is, it's gaslighting if they want us to believe that there's no UFOs or anything like that either. Just the issue is that they really don't want to be megala it, because all of these things are either angelic or demonic or spiritual. They could also be physically manifested. I'm not saying that they're not physical manifestations, but if they're megala this, it's going to prove that there's something more to this world, more in heaven and earth than's dreamt of in your philosophy, Horatio, unless you're a religious person, whatever religion you are, whether you're a Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Native American, spirituality, a pagan. All of these religions recognize the existence of beings that are not of this earth. Whether they call them angels, whether they call them demons, whether they call them gods, whatever they call them, spirits, etc., etc. These, all of these traditions recognize the existence of all kinds of different types of beings, and so there's something that science has not yet quantitated, and they don't want to have to admit that there's something that they can't measure or reproduce with the scientific method, or they can, but it's proving that there's something that spiritual beings exist, and which would also mean that we are also spiritual beings, and that we are kin to a certain extent, in a certain manner, with these beings that exist. Now, I don't believe that they are worthy of worship, as the pagans, in a sense, would have one. We would believe that the pagans believe, but the truth is, if you really study pagan approaches to these beings, they're really also more of a sort of a kinship with these beings, or seeing them the way that the monotheists, particularly traditionalist monotheists, whether it be the Hasidic Jewish approach, or whether it be the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Christian approach, but with the assembly of the saints, and the fellowship of the saints, and the that these traditions embrace. How does one? That's the same way that pagans tend to approach these beings that they venerate. If you study, some of the Norse pagans, etc., they're not really worshiping their gods as much as they venerate them and respect them and seek fellowship with them, which is different than the way that we worship the Creator. It's more like perhaps how the Native Americans would. Now, that's still forbidden for a Jew to engage in these practices, these foreign services, because it's not ours. It doesn't belong to us, and it's not for us to do. But we do have our own, and we have to recognize that it's only God who is in control, the creator and sustainer of all. But we still live in a world, just like physically we share this world with physical beings, that both other humans and non-human entities, biological entities, animals and plants, and we share this world with them. So too we share spiritual realms with non-human entities that God created, whether it be, again, the fellowship of saints and ascended masters, people that we venerate and love and consider to be part of our community in a certain sense, and we still venerate them after they left this realm, just as we did when they were in this realm. So too, we have the fellowship of the angels, and we have the recognition of living in a world together with demons and other beings that we share this world with, and how do we interact with them, etc. So, but again, we follow these things in the ways of our traditions, because that was what was revealed to us at Mount Sinai, and that's the covenant that we have as Jews. But we do not engage in those other practices because it doesn't belong to us. Now, if someone wants to join the Jewish people, they will, give up the devotion, the foreign devotions, and only engage in Jewish devotions. But the fact of the matter is, the Catholics will, have a devotion to Saint Anthony to find a lost object, and we'll have a devotion to Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, and invoke that the God of Rabbi Meir should answer us. Of course, we recognize that it's God who will answer us and not Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir doesn't have any power any more than we have ourselves, but we recognize that all comes from God, and we are only mere creations of God. But we still will invoke a saint, and also we will we have other traditions very, very similar to this, and it works for them and it works for us. Theirs works for them, for the Catholics, their devotions to Saint Anthony, that works for them, and it really works for them. And our devotions to Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, or to Rabbi Binyamin, other tzaddikim, and other Tanoim, and tzaddikim, that works for us because we're Jews. It's not necessary, but if that's the type of spirituality that one wants to engage in, it's there's nothing particularly wrong with it. Obviously, there are those who disagree with that, and they're not doing anything wrong by not engaging in that type of spirituality. But they're just different approaches. So I've went on way too long and went on a big tangent, but let's try to end with what we began with, and with this devotion to the saints, I think, and the fellowship of the saints. Again, that is a world of love. That these are people who we love them and they love us. And obviously it's nothing compared to the love we're supposed to have for God, and nothing can compare to the love that God has for us. The Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says that God loves the most wicked people ever lived more than any father ever loved any of his children ever in history. Or even, that's one version I've heard. Another version I heard is that if you combine all, and it makes sense because God is infinite, so if you combine all throughout history, past, present, and future, all of the love that all parents have ever had for all of their children, and combine that together, add it up, it doesn't come to anything close to the love of God, because God is infinite, and so God's love is infinite. So again, we have to live in a world where the power of love is stronger than the power of hate, and the power of good is stronger than the power of evil, and the power of life is stronger than the power of death, and the power of blessing is stronger than the power of curse. And so Moses says to us, I set before you this day life and death, a blessing and a curse, but I beg of you, choose life. And when it says choose life, it means choose blessing, choose love, choose happiness. Don't walk around being miserable. The leftist people are the most miserable people because they chose hatred. they chose death. They chose a curse. And you see these people, they're depressed and they're sad. And they're always looking to put other people down and to try to self-aggrandize themselves through belittling someone else. And we don't want to do that. We just want to love. That is the message of the Torah. That's the message of the Bible. And it's the message of all true religion, that we're really all one. And that oneness is really, it's like Einstein said, that we live with an optical delusion that we're somehow separate from one another in the universe. And the job of all true religion is not to feed into that delusion, but to lessen it. And that's the purpose that we have to have here. And so that's our connection that we have with all the beings in the universe, because God is one, and His glory and truth and love and awakeness and true wokeness fills all worlds and surrounds all worlds. And so therefore our fellowship that we would have even with beings that live on other planets and have bodies that are manifest on other planets, but souls that are not different, and maybe their bodies are totally different than ours, but their souls come from the same place that our souls come from. And the truth is their bodies do too, because we're all stardust, right? And it all came from that one singularity. But we can connect in the levels of consciousness with these beings and live in fellowship with them, and come to a point where in the world that we're going to go on a higher level. And so when Mashiach comes, it says V'chol Kadoshim Imai, that all the holy ones will come with him, meaning that there's going to come beings that are not of this earth, and we're going to be filled with so much love and holiness and goodness. That's what the Bible tells us. That's in Zechariah. Yes, in this world there's going to be punishment and pain and suffering, perhaps, but it could be interpreted in a positive way. But that's only really, the point is that we have to overcome this hatred. And so for that reason, I cannot accept when that the hatred for the president is that strong that 5 million more people voted for a nobody, for somebody who has no qualifications to be president, someone who is the epitome of everything that's wrong with politics, just because they hate the president, because they bought all the lies about the president. It doesn't make any sense. I can't live in a world where that power of hate is stronger than the power of love, because we know that the people really love the president. So, nobody voted for President Trump because they hated Joe Biden, because he's not a hateable person. He's just what is he? I'm sure a lot of people hated Hillary Clinton and voted for Donald Trump because of hatred for Hillary Clinton, and that makes sense. But I don't see hatred for, I don't think anybody voted for Donald Trump because they hate Joe Biden, but just because they love America and they love the president, and they want the world to be a better place. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you all later.